Welcome back to Meet the Coach. Today we got Coach Markus Lawrence. He is the O-line coach at Alabama A&M. Coach, I appreciate you jumping on with me here.
Man, no doubt, man. Appreciate you having me.
Of course. And we had you on, I don't know, maybe a month ago at this point, a little longer than that, maybe 2 months. And you had a great clinic with us. And I was like, yo, let's get on here and talk some less X's and O's and more about you and philosophy and all that stuff. So I guess let's start with, how did you get here? Like, take us through in, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, how you got into coaching and how you got here to the position you're at right now.
Most definitely, man. It's funny. So to put it in 2 minutes is going to be tough, but I can do it. So I actually played for the head coach I work for now. Coach Connell Maynard was my head football coach when I played at Winston-Salem State. From North Carolina, grew up there, went to, like I said, Winston-Salem State. Was just an athlete growing up, man. And so long story short, once I got done playing, I didn't make it to the NFL or anything like that. I actually started working at Enterprise and worked at Enterprise, run a car for about a 2-month span. And Coach Maynard called me out of nowhere, off of probably one of my worst days at work, called me and was like, "Hey, you ready to coach?" And I'm like, "Hey, look, I can't do it for free." You know what I'm saying? And, we laughed and he said, "Nah, man, I'm going to bring you on as my tight ends coach." This is when he was at Hampton University. And so jumped on board with him in 2014 at Hampton. And coached there for 3 years, the tight ends. Took a job at Bluefield College in West Virginia for a year as an offensive line coach. And then I came with them here to Alabama A&M in 2018. So going into my 6th season. But again, it was just a leap of faith. Man, I was blessed. God blessed me with an opportunity, with a phone call that turned into opportunity. And 10 years later, man, I'm here right now, man. So I'm blessed. But my head football coach has a big reason onto why I got into coaching. Didn't plan on doing it, planned on working, in the working world. And he saw something that I didn't see as a player, and here now.
Man, I was going to ask you that. Had you had any thoughts of doing it? And obviously not, no. But it is funny when you're outside, like right now, you could probably identify a couple of guys that you've coached that, like, he could be a coach, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I was talking. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was talking to a player the other day, and one of his coaches just left, took a different job. Right. And he said, when you're done playing, you got some time, you got a job with me, wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing, you got to. And he had not even seen that. And I was like, of course, you would be great at this. Yeah.
It's funny because now that I've been coaching, I see exactly what they like Coach Maynard and my offensive line coach when I played, Coach John Eder, he was really a big part of it as well. They told me, and it stuck with me, that as a coach, you're really interviewing your players every day. Like he was like, "Lawrence, we were interviewing you while you were playing. You didn't know this, but you were on interviews every day." So the fact that I knew all the checks, the calls, the plays, the formation, I knew everything. It was like they saw a coach before I did. And so now me as a coach in the coaching shoes, it's not always the best player that you see that can be a coach, but it's the guys who know everything. That's a leader. Those guys are on interviews right now. So if I take a job and I'm a head coach somewhere else or whatever the case may be, like, you're on an interview with 12, 13, 14 coaches right now. And I tell my players that, like, even though, you don't think the linebacker coach is watching you, he's interviewing you like, "Hey, that John Doe who played guard in 2013 or 2023, he can coach. If I get a job, he'll be my GA or my tight ends coach." So again, as a player, you don't always see it, but now that I've been coaching, I can kind of point out some guys, that I can see in the coaching world, and that I think would be, pretty good coaches.
Sure. What would you say is your, like, coaching philosophy? What makes you different from an O-line coach perspective than other guys?
That's a really good question, man. I think because I have a great way of getting to my guys, man. I try to put myself in their shoes as much as possible. I don't try to make myself bigger than my room or bigger than my players. I want them to know that I'm human, because at the end of the day, I spend more time with my players than I spend with my family, my mother, my father, my brothers, my son. And so I want them guys to know that I'm human. So I always start there. Like, guys, I'm not any more important than you guys in this room, because I'm demanding so much from them. I'm demanding their time. I'm demanding effort every time, every player. I'm demanding energy. Like, I'm not asking for it, I'm demanding it. And so with that, man, I try to let them guys know that what I'm asking for is nothing that's not going to benefit you. I let them know I'm human. I don't ever want my players to think I'm just their coach. You know what I'm saying? And when I talk to their families and their parents, I let them know, when they commit to us or sign with us or commit to playing for me, they're not just getting an O-line coach, they're getting an Uber driver. You're getting a personal chef. You know what I mean? You're getting an uncle. Like, you're getting a lot. I wear a lot of hats, and I think that's the bigger picture. Is that when guys feel that love, and that's the key word, I guess, to my philosophy, is just, I bring love in there first in that room. When you bring love into it, it kind of calms the room. It's just like, growing up as a child. For those who have their mother and father, you don't always like your mother and father. You love them all the time. I love my mom all the time. It doesn't stop. But do I like her all the time? No, I don't, because she demands things from me. She demands me to do my chores, to make sure I look the par, things like that. And so it's the same thing in my room. I want them to know, hey guys, I love you all the time. That will never stop. But it's gonna be times where you don't like me, because I'm gonna ask you to do something that you may think you cannot do or you may not want to do. So my philosophy is not a textbook definition. I start with love, man, and from there I can find a way to get those guys to play for the university, asking them to do whatever it may be. If it's play in the rain, if it's play in the mud, if it's play on Thursday morning at 4 a.m. practice, my guys will be ready to do it, because they know everything that we do is for the benefit of them.
As you were talking there, I thought of, I don't know if you saw Jerome Tang, the Kansas State men's basketball coach.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He was, throughout March Madness was great.
Right.
And I think we from our coaching network posted 3 different videos that I thought connected with any coach anywhere. Right.
Right.
One thing he said, and I forget the initial thing he said, but I don't want my guys just to know where my house is or my couch or something like that. He's like, I want them to know where the forks and knives are. I want them to really feel like they know me.
Right.
And as a position coach, it's similar to a basketball coach. You got 15-ish guys, right? As a head football coach, and you got 105, that's
tough. It's tough, right?
It's tougher. But I thought that was interesting, and how he I never heard it in that way. I don't know if that's his line, or maybe a bunch of people have said it, but I thought that was interesting.
It is, because it sounds cliche to say, I lead with love. It sounds so cliche, like, okay, coach, everybody says that, but you can kind of watch, even if you watch March Madness, man, you can kind of see the players. In football, it's a little tough, but you can see it. But you can see who likes playing or who loves playing for their coach. You can see it. I'm a diehard Tar Heel fan, Carolina fan to the day I die. Yeah. And there's times where it's like, you're playing for the name on the back of the jersey instead of the name on the front. But there are other teams like the Final Four we got now is it's all over the place. But UConn, and even women's basketball, South Carolina, those girls love playing for Don Staley. You can see it. You can cut the volume down on the TV and just see that with their body language and how they're, just communicating with the finger point and stuff, that they love playing for Don Staley. So it sounds cliche, but I think if you lead with love, man, you will get what you're trying to accomplish as a group. It will become a lot smoother. Like I said, you can see it very well in basketball, just because they're smiling, the body language of the players, even if they're losing. They're still motivated to, impress their coach or just play for that university.
Totally. And you say everyone says that. I don't know that everyone says that, for one.
Right.
And I had, I think, 5 DB coaches in 3 years.
Really?
As a player. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. And one of them was just a spring ball DB coach. And then he got moved. Actually was Vance Joseph, who's now the DC. I think he's in Arizona, Denver, maybe.
Denver. Yeah. Back in Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of our corners guy, and he had left to go, I think, to Stanford on Harbaugh's staff, or something like that. Maybe the 49ers staff when he was there. I don't remember. But anyway, he had left, and had a guy in there. But I don't remember any of those guys leading with any sort of love or saying they're leading with love.
Right.
So it ain't always the common thing, especially in football. It's a good thing, and it works for people if it fits you. If it doesn't, do your thing there too. What from you've been there. This is gonna be your 6th season, right?
Yep. How
do you think you've grown as a coach, and what have you learned in those 6 seasons from, year 1 to now?
That's another great question. I've learned so much just from the people I work with. I've worked with some amazing guys on our staff, man, from year 1 to now. Worked with some great guys. I've learned a lot from our head football coach, Coach Manning, just about preparation. How to look at the game, man, how to approach the game of football, how to dissect it. I can go on for days. The one thing I probably would say that I've learned the most is that football really isn't everything. And I know that's going to sound crazy, but I learned that from my son. Because if I'll admit it, I'm a bad loser, man. Like when we lose, my phone is off until Tuesday. You know what I mean? I got to get back on the field and get to practice and get to the next opponent. I have a sour taste in my mouth. I have sportsmanship. I'll shake hands, all that great stuff. But, losing just messes up my whole weekend. Like my wife and my family know that after the game, I'm not the guy to talk to because I just don't have it. And having my son, man, it just changed my whole perspective on the game of football. Like after our first loss last year against UAB, again, mindset wise, I'm not thinking about my son during the game. I'm like, man, we getting our butts kicked, yada, 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 man. It's going to be a long ride home. And then once the game was over, man, I saw my wife walking with my son and like everything just calm. Like, you know what I'm saying? I saw my son. It was like, man, he don't care about us losing. You know what I mean? He just wanted to see his dad. And so that's what it taught me, man. The game is not, it's my life. But there are bigger things to the game of football. Again, as far as football wise, I've learned so much, man, from year 1 to year 6. Like I said, just that I don't know everything. That you want to be an expert to your players in your position, but you also want to show them that I didn't invent the wheel. You know what I mean? And so I'm human. Again, I make mistakes. I have no problem telling my guys I made a mistake, or we're gonna do it this way, yada yada yada. But the biggest thing I learned is that that this is more to life than just winning and losing. It's way more to it. And again, my son taught me that in the 10 months he's been here. But as far as learning from year 1 to year 6, just straight football wise, man, it's been so much just from a lot of guys I've worked with who've been different places, just about the game and how to prepare. I would probably say preparation is the biggest thing because when you look at it, you really get 3 or 4 days to prepare for another football team. And so just your time is so pivotal, man. How you use your time, how wisely you spend it with your players. I would say definitely time management as far as preparing, what to look for, what's important to us approaching that next opponent.
How are you doing differently then? Like what's changed?
Just really just research, man. I know before, again, when I first got into this thing, I was more so of, I want to watch just, last 3 or 4 games. And now I've gotten to a point, man, where I go back a couple seasons. I research the DC, the D-line coach. Where was he at 3 or 4 years ago? What did he do when he played against a team like us 4 or 5 years ago? I've gotten to the point, man, I go watch these high school kids huddle and see what's their favorite move. Like we in our conference, we played a lot of really, really, really good defensive ends. And so I try to give my players the most of it because that's what it's for, is to give my guys an advantage. And so I'll go back and watch huddle film and see, okay, what move was he doing, when he was on the right side, or what was this one technique doing, when he was against this kind of formation. So I go back so much and just to see what little, tidbit I could come up on that might help us, in the third quarter, fourth quarter. Because again, when I tell my players that, they're going to believe it. Like, hey, this guy's going to give you a spin move, whenever he sees your hands flat, or, whatever the case may be. And so that's probably what it was. Again, I thought, first getting into this thing as a young coach, just watch the last 2 or 3 games and you'll be fine. But you want to give your guys the most advantage you can. So I'll go back a couple seasons. I'll go watch, again, some film from where that DC or D-line coach or linebacker, what blitzes were they doing, all those type of things. And it's like you're spending 3 or 4 hours for maybe one or two things. It sounds crazy, but those 1 or 2 things could impact the football game on Saturday. Sure.
How do you evaluate you? Like, how do you, like self-evaluation was the word I was looking for there. Like from a self-evaluation standpoint, how do you say like, hey, I got better, I got worse? What are you doing? Now you can say product on the field or how you grade your guys, but like, how do you go about getting better as a coach every year, every off season?
Like you just said, the self-evaluation. So after the season, I kind of really debrief and kind of just let football go for a while. I normally do it right about now, like right after spring ball. Yeah. I'll go back and watch every game, and not necessarily, do too much rewinding, but just watch it and see where we could have got better at, and as the games come together, are we a bad double team football team? Like kind of watch it from a defensive coordinator's eyes. Okay, are we weak on second and short, or is my left side giving away something? I kind of do that, and then I've become more of a communicator with other coaches. I ask those guys that, we might have played against or whatever, what do you think about my group? Not telling them to tell me what they're going to do defensively, but when you think about Alabama A&M offensive line, I want to know, what do you think as a opposing coach? Some coaches like, coach, you do this, you da. You guys are, good in the run game. You're not so good here or there. Like, I want to know those things so I can get better. Now, granted, they don't have to tell me anything, but I do have some good relationships with some guys who do express, like, hey, coach, y'all were tough, or coach, y'all were a little soft, things like that. I like to hear. So when I do approach my guys and we start doing individual things like that, I can tweak, again, going back to myself. I know I don't know everything, tweak things to make us better. So that's kind of how I do it. Like, I'll do it after spring ball and just watch each game and kind of just see what we weren't good at, whether it be double teams or passing off twist game or third and long, or just any little thing that we can get better at to make us a better football team. Because I don't want to have any disadvantages to that harpens our team offensively. That dictates what happens on Saturday. I tell my guys all the time, if the receivers make a mistake, run the wrong route, it's probably gonna be a pick. If the running back makes a mistake, put the ball on the ground, it's a fumble. If we make a mistake, somebody gonna get hurt. You know what I mean? Like, if you step the wrong way, or if that double team is not where it needs to be, or you playing too high, there's a chance the quarterback can get hurt or the running back can get hurt. So, we're the one position where when you make a mistake, if a corner makes a mistake, it's a touchdown. Okay. We can get somebody hurt and give up a touchdown. It's all bad. So it's very pivotal for me to make sure that I put them in the best situation possible so we can avoid all those things.
Well, it's funny. I was a DB and I coach DBs, right? You mess up, you give up a touchdown, right? D-line guy messes up, you
can get that touchdown back. But if the quarterback get hurt,
number
2 guy ain't the number 1 guy. You know what I mean?
Right. So and that's what's unique about O-line. There's no other position like that, right?
Nothing else, man. Nothing else.
How do you build your culture when you got there? How do you build your O-line room culture within the team culture, right? But you've got your own thing you do, and O-line is a totally unique group of guys typically.
Right. You definitely, now that O-line room, man. You ever sit in the O-line room? I'm sure you know. I know you know. You got 20 guys. You got 20 different personalities. You know what I mean? So very unique. But I'm glad you asked that question as well. The way I compare it to my guys, and I do a lot of analogies and comparing because, again, people learn different. So I tell my guys, we want to be like Chick-fil-A. I use it in my presentation because they all eat at Chick-fil-A. So they get that. Like, that's something they understand, And what I mean by that is that, just using my example, if you go to a Burger King in Huntsville, Alabama, it's going to be completely different from the Burger King in New York. It's going to be completely different. They're not the same. The one in New York may be clean, the bathrooms this way, yada, yada, yada. They're nice customer service. The one in Huntsville, Alabama that I'm talking about, it ain't that. You know what I mean? If you catch them at the wrong time, you may have a burger with no burger on it. You know what I mean? And so it's just different as opposed to Chick-fil-A. You can go to Chick-fil-A here in Huntsville, or you can go to Chick-fil-A in another country. You're going to get the same service. They're going to say, my pleasure. When you say thank you, your bag is going to be neatly placed with your fries not hanging out. Your sandwich is going to be like everything. Every experience I've had has been perfect. And I've never drove to a Chick-fil-A and, we short staffed, so we only can do this. So we don't have any, macaroni and cheese. Every time I've been, they have what I wanted. It's times I rolled past Chick-fil-A and the line is wrapped around the building and I can just see it moving. Like, it's never a long wait there. And so that's what we want to be as an offensive line. We want to be where when you play against Alabama A&M, you're going to get a great service. We're going to dominate up front. We're going to play with high energy, high effort. That is not up for debate. We're going to have that. What you're going to get from offensive line, whether it's, like I said, raining, snowing, it's 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. You're going to get the same type of Alabama A&M offensive line. That's what we're working towards. So that's the culture I want to build. I hate if we're doing conditioning or running gases and they're like, hey, man, all the offensive line finished on time today. That's not a compliment to me because that's what we're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, thank you, but that's what I want to do. All the offensive linemen have a 3.0. No, that's our culture. We, again, Chick-fil-A, everybody's wearing a red shirt. Nobody's wearing a blue shirt. Nobody's wearing a green socks. Everybody looks the same. We want to be the same way. When we get off that bus, you don't know who a weak link is or who's an all-American. You don't know. And I know I'm running long on this one. Another comparison I use for my guys is we want to be like a great album. You know, if I ask you what your favorite album is or what's the best album to you, 9 times out of 10, whatever album it is, it's an album that you can listen to without pressing next. You know, we call it no skips. So as a group, our hashtag is like no skips. You know, it doesn't matter who's playing, who's out there. Whatever 5 is out there, we're gonna play with them, and it's no drop off. It's just like a great album. You know, some people's song is longer than others. You know, some people only got, you know, an intro or an outro or a skit, but they made that intro the best intro they can make it. And it's the same thing with our room. You know, there are no skips. Everybody's whatever song you have, make it that song. You know, if you're really good, you're probably gonna get the single, you know, for the world to hear. But once they play that album, once they come in our room, they're gonna understand ain't no drop off. We get off that bus, everybody can play, anybody can play at any time. And when we go on the road, it's just like a concert. We're gonna perform. So it's a little neat thing that they understand, that they get. Sure. That's the culture we want. We want to be a Chick-fil-A type of organization. And as a room, we want to be like a great album. There ain't no drop-offs. When you push that CD or that put on the Apple Music, you ain't hitting skip. You can put it in your pocket because you're gonna play it the whole way through.
I like that. And I heard the old school in you with the CD there.
Yeah.
if you had one album that you were thinking of, your go-to no skips, what would that be?
Man, Get Rich or Die Trying, 50 Cent. Get Rich or Die Trying. I could let that ride. If I know I got any road trip we got, that's the first one I'm listening to. Me, 21 Questions. Oh, man, we rolling with that 50 Cent. He don't have a lot of great albums, but that album is, to me, again, is a classic. Yeah.
How old are you?
I turned 32 in February, man. So I look older than I am, and my son took all my hair off my head.
Well, so that came out when I was a freshman in college. I remember my roommate got the CD. So, and I'm 39, so you'd have been in like early high school, which is that resonates with you.
I was in
not even high school. Yeah,
6th grade. I was in 6th grade because I remember one of my best friends had it, and we were just playing basketball outside. He played it, and I just kept playing it. Once I got the CD, man, I played it over and over and over, and that's always been my little pregame music.
I'm with it. I feel like when you first said it, the first thing that came to mind was Usher Confessions, but that's me.
Hey, you know what, Pat? That's the other one. That I don't say that one because I keep that one in the back pocket. You know,
I hear you.
If when I was dating my wife, when she asked me, I ain't say 50, I would say Usher Confessions because that legit is no skips on that. You know that.
Not a single one. That's the best. Right. I even not that we need to get in the whole thing on here, but he did the Tiny Desk stuff on YouTube, and like now my kids have been listening the last like month or so. Yeah. Yes, all right, a couple more things. I'll let you out of here. Is there anything specifically this spring that you're working on with your guys or yourself, I guess, personally as a coach?
The one biggest detail I would say, I've kind of been saying it a lot this thing, but combos. We really in this spring for sure, we focused a lot more on combo blocks, just because that was another thing I thought that we could have been better at that we didn't do as well last season. And so we've been putting a lot more time into it, especially my individual. It's something we do every day now. It was something in the past that we would do, maybe depending on what kind of day it was, every other play. Now at this point, even if we're not wearing pads, we're doing some type of combo blocks, just to build a camaraderie with guys playing with each other. I think I sold them short last season by not doing it. And there were times where, let's say the right guard twists his ankle, and now he's playing with a new tackle. He didn't have enough reps at practice of just practicing, working that double team and working up or comboing on a power gap scheme, whatever type of play. So I made it a point of emphasis this spring that we were going to do some type of combo blocks every day, whether it's man scheme, zone scheme, gap scheme, just so everybody can get used to playing with each other, knowing, who's a little quicker off the ball. You see it on film, but it's different when you're out there and you're playing with that person. So that's been the probably number one detail I've been focused on this spring.
Anything you've learned this offseason?
Things I've learned, and I'm not trying to sound like an expert. One of the things I would say I've learned is I'm a big big on feet, big on rolling the hips. And I went to a presentation where a guy told me that, rolling the hips is, something that's you're wasting air when you coach it. That was beyond me. But I would say feet. Something I've learned is that just kind of where you, and I took this from another coach, when you curl your toe, it's gonna sound crazy. When you curl your toe on your set or on your stance, you can't false step. And so pretty much what I'm saying is, so we skip pull on power. So let's say we have a left guard and he's gonna skip pull to the right. Sometimes we have some guys who just don't know how to skip pull, they're taking the wrong steps. And I think he said he got this from Herb Hand from UCF. If I want him to push off of that right foot to go backwards, if he curls his big toe, there's no way he's gonna false step that left foot. He's gonna push off of that right foot, and it's gonna get you the movement that you want with no wasted steps. Even if we're left guard, I want him to kick to that left B gap. If he curls that right toe, he's gonna push off that right foot. He's not gonna hop. And so I kind of experimented with it, and it's been working for us. And again, that's just another little tidbit that, again, I can't see if the toe's really curling or not, but that was something that I learned that I never coached. And so now I have my guys kind of brace a little bit, like if they're about to, power clean or bench some heavy weight, we brace really well, something I never coached. And then whatever foot we're pushing off of, we're going to curl that toe and really push off of that foot so we're not wasting no movements. That's one thing that I learned that I knew nothing about, had never heard before. And it's worked for me wonders, especially with my younger guys.
I was gonna say, so you've seen improvement with it.
Yeah, I have. I definitely have, especially with, like I said, my younger guys who this is their first spring, and they didn't get a lot of coaching from me in the fall just because there's a lot of game planning. Time I've spent with them on that, one-on-one type of stuff, that has worked for them, with their skip pulls or kick sets. Just in their mind thinking, okay, I want to go this way, let me curl this toe and push off of it, explode out.
Sure. Interesting. Good. I'm glad. You learned this offseason. Always good, right?
Yeah. I'm a sponge, man. I try to learn as much as possible. That was one thing that I was like, what? And then when I took it to the field, it was like, wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good stuff.
And even like we were talking before we recorded here with Demetrius Sumler, who was on our coaching network last night during his clinic. He talked about even just spring ball, like evaluating, and they ranked their guys 1 to 44, and 5 or 6 of their top 11 were DBs, and they're like, we got to get these guys on the field, and then 2 guys made the league. Like even little things like that, if that can make you a little bit better, like shit.
Yeah,
that's
right. And like again, I'm an open book, man. I don't know I didn't invent the game of football, so I'm always willing to learn. And that was just something that, again, I when I heard it, I was like, man, what? Curl the toe. And because I never did it, I never heard it. And when I did it, and my players were like, oh, coach, I see what you mean. I'm like, okay, it wasn't my idea, but whatever will make us better. So I thought that was pretty unique to eliminate guys false stepping or not knowing how to push off of their foot. Just have them curl that toe, kind of brace and push, and it did wonders for my guys. So credits to Herb Hand, man. He's on to something with that one.
And by the way, whoever invented football would come back. I can't even think of the guy's name, and I would be like, what in the hell is going on?
Right.
What is NIL transfer portal?
Right.
What is going on? All right, last thing. Any like really good coaching advice or best coaching advice you've gotten as you've been through your 10-year-ish career now?
Probably the best advice I've had, man, is they're not you. I had a coach tell me that when I was first starting this thing out. I was a pretty decent player, man. I was fortunate. I won all conference, all American, all that. I was a good player. So, I had a coach tell me early on, man, that when you coaching, they are not you. So don't go in that room and try to tell them to do this because you did it that way. Like, you got to find out what he's good at. Find out how he learns, because everyone learns different. And hone in on that. They're not the player you are. Some of them will be better, some of them will be worse, but you got to find a way, find that common ground where everybody learns and how they learn, who can take, a real good, ass chewing and who can't, because it's just a different time. And again, I explain to my guys, man, like, if I'm giving directions to 15 people, I may have to explain it differently to each person. This person may know where, Rodeo Drive is, but this guy does not. So I can just tell you, hey, make a left on Rodeo. I may have to tell him, where that Burger King is at? Okay, once you get to the Burger King, make that left. So I'm explaining it 2 different ways, but I'm still getting the same left. And so that was something that I learned that I've always kept with me. When you teaching these guys and explaining the plays, don't try to outsmart them. Don't try to make them seem like they don't know the game because you can use the big words. I break it down to whatever kind of group I have in my audience. I break it down to them where they can learn. Again, we talked about, I'm big on feet. I coach your feet before I even coach anything else. And so I tell my guys who, again, my guys swear they can play basketball. And we play it a lot. I got some guys who can hoop. And they was boxing. I'm a big boxing fan. So I tell them, you know, if you're playing basketball, if you go take a charge, if your feet are not in place, they're going to call a blocking foul because your feet wasn't there. If you get your feet there and you set, it's a charge. It's the same thing in football. You can't block that guy if your feet are not there. Once you get your feet there, you'll block them. It's the same thing. If you want to cut the basketball off, you got to put your foot in front of the ball and cut them off and make them go the other way. Same thing. And then what I tell them in boxing is, I make them watch a lot of boxing, and I tell them, you know, look at the boxer's feet. You know, you'll never see a boxer's feet right next to each other or heels clicking. Every time he throws a punch, his shoulder width apart, and when he punches, he keeps his weight back just in case it's a haymaker coming. And again, in pass pro, we want to play the same way. We don't want to get too heavy over our toes, our feet, you know, clicking, because now we have no base and foundation. So again, a lot of, you know, players that I get, sometimes they didn't have the same coaching as a really good high school program. So they get those basketball analogies and those boxing analogies and those, you know, great album and Chick-fil-A. Again, that's just me, again, like I was just saying, knowing that everybody didn't learn the same growing up. So just getting everybody to understand kind of what we're trying to accomplish. That was, bringing back to your question, that's kind of the advice I would give, is that they're not you. You got to make sure that when you're talking to your group or your whatever position you're coaching, understand that they're not you, you're not them, and you have to meet them halfway when coaching.
And like you said too, guys who are my age, your age, you can't coach these guys the same way. You just can't.
Right.
Just like they couldn't have coached like our parents' age. Like my dad played high school football, and they would give him salt tablets. He's 70 years old. Like there's different things you could do with that dude between.
Right. Different time. Like, again, you have guys who will run through a wall literally that played 20, 30 years ago. Now, this generation, you'll have some, but they're going to find a different way to run through it. They may.
That's smarter a lot of times.
You know, right. And there's nothing wrong with it, because at the end of the day, we're running through the wall. You know, if they have a machine or app that opens the wall up, hey, even better. You know what I mean? But as long as we're getting the same thing accomplished, like I said, that is the biggest thing to me. No matter how we have to portray it or get them to do it, we're just trying to get to a W on Saturday. That's the end goal. And you know, you just have to cater how you explain it to those guys. And you can't just say, like LeBron can't just say, hey, take the ball and dunk on them. Everybody can't do that, you know. So how are we going to get this ball in this hoop? Okay, now let's break this down, because we don't have 5 LeBron James.
Definitely not. Nobody does. Best
right.
Maybe not the best basketball player ever. I'm not going to get that. But the best athlete in the world. Anyway, Coach, I really appreciate you jumping on with me, and thank you again.
Nah, man, I appreciate you, man. Anytime.